Where do we go from here? Where do the Eagles go from here? It is extremely difficult to make it to a Super Bowl. I feel like the Eagles deserved to be there. I think that there's a lot of people who were saying like, "Oh, the Eagles had a weak schedule." Well, the Eagles beat the most teams who had a winning record this season. So that couldn't have possibly happened. Couldn't have possibly had the easiest schedule. But next year, the Eagles actually have a first place schedule. They play the Super Bowl champions. They play the NFC champions, or the NFC runner ups. They don't have as much cap space because, again, they didn't go all in this season, but they they had a lot invested in 1 year contracts that were big. They have a lot of decisions to make in terms of who they're going to sign, who they're going to not sign, who they're gonna draft, what they're gonna draft, when's Jalen Hurts gonna possibly get that big contract. These are all things that this team has to think about. They just lost both their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, who is going to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and Jonathan Gannon, who is going to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, again, a lot of people are happy to see that Jonathan Gannon is gone. Look, Jonathan Gannon was mid. On a scale between Billy Davis and Jim Johnson, like a 6.5. Not that great, but I think that the defense made him look better, the talent on defense at least. But I think what the Eagles are probably going to make Brian Johnson their offensive coordinator because of his relationship with Jalen Hurts. And then I don't know who our defensive coordinator is going to be. Your guess is just as good as mine. Your guess is just as good. I have no idea who it's going to be. I have no clue. I believe it's going to be someone from on the team because whoever's not is going to go with Jonathan Gannon to the Cardinals. What people need to understand is that people who are going to become like assistants, like new hires as assistants, they're not just going to be some rando, right? It's going to be somebody who has a relationship with the coach, Nick Sirianni. So that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. That's all it's going to be. I have no idea. But, I think that we're all going to be looking at the free agent tracker, seeing who's going to be signed, who's not going to be signed. Jalen Hurts, he had an MVP caliber season, right? He didn't win the MVP because he wasn't the best quarterback. But he played way better than he did last year, right? I was one of those people who was very critical of Jalen Hurts because he couldn't read a defense. His footwork sucked. I was never one of those people who was like, well, his arm strength is the reason why he's not good, because his arm strength was irrelevant to me. I've seen him make deep passes and make good deep passes. So his arm strength doesn't bother me that much. We saw that this season. What was Jalen Hurts' injury? How is it still is it gonna affect him for the rest of his career? I don't know. One thing that I have for sure is I don't think we're gonna re-sign Miles Sanders. You could see it in the Super Bowl. He did not have a good game in the Super Bowl. I feel like on offense he was definitely the weakest link, and it sucks because I liked watching that guy. He had a really good season, but he just wasn't able to translate in the Super Bowl.